let me do a quick review of the stuff we talked about right before you guys left, which now has been almost a week. So, the derivatives of inverse, remember I had this little formula, f prime of f inverse. So remember the process was to, and there were various ways of going about this, but figure out what f inverse of x was and then plug it into f prime. And then it's interesting, when I have done these problems, I often forget to put the 1 above it. So don't forget that. So this is a memorization thing. There's quite a few of those at this point. I'm going to show you in a second. Remember we had the option like where you use various versions of the table, and the big thing there was to remember this, to switch x and y, the input and output for that inverse function. There were cases like down here where you had to find the inverse function for being able to plug in x to it here, and did the derivative of that. So a couple things. I don't know how this works for you, and you're welcome to do what's best, but my habit is to write, I don't know, I need to pick a good spot. This version, the Leibniz notation of the inverse. It just keeps me, so on almost every problem I do like this, I write this statement out, so I pull it out of the text, so it stands out, and then I switch over and use just the secondary notation, so the inverse. So I'll show you some more about that tomorrow. Okay, and then we did inverse trig, and it had its own stuff, quite a few things. So quick reminder on the way to remember. Both of the s's had two s words, subtract and square root in the denominator. The second one, the secant, had also this absolute value of x out front. It's kind of a weird thing, so weird secant, weird something out front. And then make sure you're remembering that sine was 1 minus x squared, secant was the opposite, x squared minus 1. And then for the cosine and cosecant, we just added negative. So any of the ones with c have a negative sign out front. Okay, and then tangent was just 1 over x squared plus 1. So it was kind of a modification. So those are 6 things to remember. Quick reminder again though, arc means inverse, and I personally like to work with this just because it looks more like math instead of a word. So when I do these, I rewrite it as inverse secant with a negative 1. Not required at all. Okay, we did a quick review of the unit circle for the domains and ranges of these inverse functions, or inverse sine, cosine, and tangent. And that was, I'll show you why, but just a quick reminder, sine and tangent had the same, just wrong, negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. And then cosine was between 0 and pi. And we did that because we needed to get values of these inverse functions so that we could write equations. Let me show you the direction. Find the tangent line. So we need to be able to plug in the point, get the slope, so that our tangent line actually has something in it, right? Like an actual value. So like what is arc sine of root 2 over 2? Can you do that one quick in your head? On the interval negative pi to pi. Negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Huh?
It's going to be pi over 4.
Pi over 4, yeah. So where they're equal, where they're equal to each other is right in the middle. So let equal, those two lengths are the same. So pi over 4, good. And then, like, if you see something weird like this, you don't memorize the root 3 over 8. But when you plug it in to the slope, it will clean up. So something you know. Okay. So 3.5 is nothing new, so that's good. Why don't you flip in your packets to this? Here's what I want you to do, though. Let me tell you what it says. This whole section is just practice picking what to do for taking a derivative. Because at this point we have, well, you can see, like, what is this? 3, 6, 9 from unit 2 and another 4. And each of those, not each, some of those have sub derivatives that, like this one is the trig stuff. That's 6 different ones, right? So at this point, there's probably like 20 different things you can write in there that really all need to be memorized. Hopefully this week, but definitely soon. What I want you to do from this is do your very level best to write out everything you remember about derivatives. And if you don't want to put it on this paper, that's fine. You can put it on the back. And then go back, if you need to, go back and review from your notes all the different things. And here's, I'll just show you what I mean. What I want you to do beyond just listing it, like let's say you put quotient rule. Well, yeah, we learned that, but that's not a full review. So over here, write out what the quotient rule is in symbols. You know, like how would you actually do the quotient rule? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. This is kind of starting review for this test also, honestly.